This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
Welcome to this edition of the SAU Report. I'm Jennifer Lewis.
And I'm Tracy Campbell. With us today is Dana French, Coordinator of Technology Applications at SAU. Dana, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity of being here today.
You're an administrator of SAU's distance education program, a relatively new educational concept at the university. What exactly is distance education?
Distance education has been defined by the North Central Accreditation Association as being a form of education when the teacher and the instructor are separated. In other words, not at the same place at the same time.
Is distance learning a new development, or has it been around for a while?
Well, the distance education that we know of today, and as we are utilizing here at SAU, has been around for about 9 years in Arkansas. But the concept of distance ed actually goes back to 1775 when the first written correspondence courses were created.
So any correspondence courses like those that students take throughout high school and college, that's considered distance education?
Right, right. That's the original distance ed. But the distance ed we know of today is more related to some form of electronic medium.
Okay.
What are the types of distant learning?
There's various forms of distance education, but when we think of it, we usually put it in two categories, as synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous being that occurs at the same time, meaning that it's some type of electronic form where the teacher and the student are actually interacting as we are right now. We may do this by form of interactive compressed video where you two may be 80 miles away from me and I'm the instructor and we're interacting as we are here. The other form would be internet, which has chat rooms, web pages, things of this nature, and where the instructor may look at a student's homework and then return a reply at a later time.
Compressed video, can you give us a kind of a definition of that?
Yes. Compressed video is a combination of a computer, a special phone line, which is referred to as a T1 phone line, which we use here in Arkansas, and television. In fact, TV is one of the parents of compressed video. And we are taking a analog signal, which is video, and then transposing it into a digital signal, which is computer, and basically sending it through the T1 phone line to anywhere within the U.S. or the world that you wanted to go to.
Does the technology for distance education change rapidly?
Yes, it changes rapidly. There have been some major changes within the state of Arkansas, going from one standard to another, going from one medium to another. It's a very fast-paced program.
The technology sounds interesting, but is there a concern that this distance education will take the place of instructors in the classroom with students?
That's a major concern throughout the country that a lot of institutions are concerned about, as well as the teachers. But Tracy, let me put it to you this way. It will not replace a good teacher. Nothing will ever replace the face-to-face contact between a good teacher and a student. But it will spotlight an instructor who is not using good teaching technologies. So to answer your question, will it replace teachers? No, not really. That's up to their teaching style.
Okay.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of not being able to interact with the teacher face-to-face?
One of the biggest problems with, say, an internet course, for instance, which goes back to exactly being like the same problems with the former written correspondence courses, is that we have to look at the student's motivation. And a lot of times students fail to turn their work in on time, things of this nature. Whereas if they had the interaction with the instructor can, coach them and tell them that they have deadlines to meet. The other thing is the student may not know. They can't gauge their progress and how well they're doing because there's no one there to tell them how well they're doing. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with those that are not interactive.
What's the major challenges for instructors who want to utilize distance education technology for learning purposes?
There are a lot of challenges these days. One of the biggest being fair use in education or copyright. Copyright laws have changed drastically within the last 6 months, really. Any instructor who used to could play a videotaping, in fact, in class, may not be able to use that same videotape in, say, an interactive compressed video course because it's viewed as a form of transmission and would have to get permission. So there's little gray areas there that have not been defined, and as an instructor, basically the common line when I tell faculty when I train them is to, if you don't know, ask, get permission before you use materials.
How is distance learning affecting students now?
Well, in Arkansas we have a rather large network, and we're able to reach a lot more students than we have ever been able to reach. In the state, we have an infrastructure that is made up of 350 sites. That is in compressed video alone, not counting internet courses. So basically we're opening a lot of doors for people. So for instance, individuals who work during the day, your more non-traditional students who cannot go to school during the day or live within a rural area that does not have a college or university, they can take classes by some form at night.
Where else is distance education or distance learning technology being used other than colleges and universities, for say in the state of Arkansas?
In the state of Arkansas, I think of the, once again, the compressed video, which is what we're utilizing here at SAU. In the state infrastructure is also being used for telemedicine applications. UAMS in Little Rock, where I worked before I came here, we actually did patient consults by utilizing the technology.
Do you think that the businesses and industries will be affected?
Oh yes. Business and industry is going to be affected by the changes in education just overall. Not only just those in distance ed. As you see more of the baby boomers in business and industry retiring and more of what we'd call Generation X coming into the workforce, we're seeing a lot more individuals who, I'm sorry to say, but cannot read beyond a 5th grade level. And you're going to see a lot of cases where business and industry is going to have to partner with higher education institutions in order to get these people trained properly. The other thing we're having to look at is that people learn differently. And as workers, when you train workers in the workplace, we're learning that worker A may learn the style to do the job one way and worker B another. And so industry and education are having to partner in order to train these people properly.
Is compressed video the only type of distance learning technology SAU uses at the present time? At
the present time, we have 2 compressed video units on campus. We have the picture-tell unit, which is a type of one unit, and then a VTEL unit, which is primarily what the state of Arkansas uses, but both can talk to each other. We have 3 satellite dishes and looking at getting a 4th one, and also we are considering internet courses. But right now, SAU, I'm very proud of the fact that we have been very cautious and that we're not getting into the distance ed business because everyone else is. We're getting into the business to meet the needs of our students, but we're being very careful that we do it right.
How did SAU obtain the equipment for distance education? Was it funded through a grant, or how did they obtain it?
The unit that we have in Wilson 306, the picture-tell unit, was purchased before my arrival, and that was obtained through a grant. The VTEL unit is part of Title 4E, which is a grant program through the Department of Psychology and Sociology, and they support that unit.
I understand there are companies that create these pre-produced telecourses or televideos that universities may purchase for teaching purposes. How do you feel about these courses?
Telecourses, which for our viewers who do not know what telecourses are, they basically are videotapes that you can buy and watch at your leisure and do the homework and send them in, by the deadline. Like a video correspondence course.
Would you call this like hooked on phonics, something, anything you take like and get and bring to your home that teaches you something, like you can get the videos and the tapes?
Something of the same nature, tutorial type things, right. One of the big problems with that is, once again, you do not have the interaction that you would have with an instructor. How do you know that you've answered the questions properly? One of the big problems with internet courses across the country is the fact that there's not that interaction. Some companies, such as Top Class and a few others who have developed internet classes, you don't get the feel for what type of personality the instructor may have. You may not have that interaction to know how well you're doing. It's kind of generic.
If I were an SAU instructor what kind of concerns would I need to know about creating a web course or even posting a web page?
Once again, copyright. That's going to be the biggest problem, is whether or not you're breaking a copyright law. And the other thing is, once again, going back to that interaction, putting in different types of mediums within a web course, such as downstreaming video, chat rooms, things of this nature, where the student can actually communicate back and forth with the instructor to get that interaction.
Is censorship a big concern?
Censorship can be a concern, yes. Censorship overall, dealing with any electronic medium, is a problem within the country. I really don't know of anyone other than the military who does censorship, obviously because of espionage and things of that nature, but that's a concern, major concern.
What problems do administrators encounter with distance education?
Oh, all kinds. We're dealing with faculty who do not want to change, who do not want to teach courses, faculty members who do not want to upgrade their lecture notes. Money is a big problem. Paying for a program, how do you pay for the line charges, the equipment, upgrading of software, equipment, things of this nature.
Do you find that a lot of younger teachers or instructors want to do the distance education or distance learning courses as compared to maybe the older ones who are set in their ways and like being in the classroom, or is it just the opposite?
Well, I hate to say someone's set in their ways, but there are a few instructors I have encountered in my lifetime who have been. We are finding now that a lot of the younger people who are getting out of school now have been exposed to this. In fact, not only the teachers, teacher education majors and individuals of that nature who are going to be teachers, they are not as afraid of the technology as, say, those who have been out there for a while. The fear being, will it replace me? The fear being, I'm going to make a fool of myself in front of the state. Or they also question their teaching methodologies. But across the board overall, I have found some who like it and some who don't. And as an administrator, what you do is you find those who want to teach and enjoy it and do a good job, and you use them as your champions.
What problems do students face while learning through distance technology?
Oh, we run into encounters such as students who may have learning disabilities, and a lot of times that's not taken into consideration, which it should be, because there's new ADA guidelines now dealing with technology and learning disabilities. Students who may be hearing impaired, visually impaired, shy students who do not want to participate in class. Actually, I've actually seen them on compressed video where they may ask a question, but they'll make certain that the camera is turned to the back wall over here, and you just hear their voice. They may not ask a question at all, for the fear factor is still there.
My understanding is that you'll soon be certified as a regional instructor for distance education.
Right.
What steps must one take to get certification?
Well, the certification that I'll be getting shortly, I'm getting two types of certification. I'm getting one as a distance education administrator, which I'm getting through Texas A&M and the Center for Distance Learning Research. And the second one that I'm really thrilled about is that I'm being certified as a regional instructor with Cisco Corporation. Cisco is a Fortune 500 company that makes routers and deals with telecommunications, and SAU has just signed a partnership with Cisco to start the Cisco Training Academy here.
Might that be a good company to invest stock in right now?
I'm not at liberty to say that.
Once you're certified, what can you do with it, with your certification?
As a certified instructor, what I will do is I will train local high school teachers on how to teach everything from terminating a fiber optic cable to how to build a new motherboard and install routers for a computer network. And then these instructors will in turn teach students how to do this. So we're getting more high school students involved in technology, and to me that's exciting. That's very exciting.
Now, speaking of high school, are there high schools in Arkansas now that use distance education?
Yes, quite a few. Of those 350 sites that I mentioned earlier, a large portion of those are indeed high schools.
Okay, I've seen emails about teleconferences and stuff like that here at SAU. What are some examples of courses?
Okay. Of our compressed video courses that we have going on right now, on Monday nights we offer a certified financial planners program that Dr. David Ashby and Dr. Rankin here in the business program are in charge of. SAU, I'm proud to say, is the only school in the nation that is offering a CFP program by compressed video. And we are getting phone calls as far as Baltimore, Maryland, of people who want to take this course.
Is there a chance that the Magnolia community will begin utilizing SAU's equipment and use, the distance education technology for medical purposes or to take classes or?
Sure. The door is always open, and we're more than willing to do business with the community. That's what we're here for.
Do other schools do that, have a partnership with the community?
Yes. Partnerships are very, very important. And of course, SAU has always had a partnership and a role in the community, and this is just another way of utilizing that partnership.
What problems are evident with the equipment that SAU has right now?
Problems, well, when you're dealing with technology, there's always going to be problems. But I got to be honest, most of the problems I have encountered have been more with people than with technology. Scheduling, for instance. With our compressed video, our carrier is Southwestern Bell in Little Rock. And there are times when someone may cut the T1 phone line, may cut a fiber optic link, can't dial out, things. That's not common, but it does happen, and when I train faculty, I make them aware of that.
What about weather?
Weather does not really affect it.
Or like on the internet, when you're on the internet, if there's a lot of people using a dial, like in a small town where you have trouble getting through, you have any similar problems with doing the distance?
In South Arkansas we do, because there are only 4 T1 lines in the state of Arkansas in order to get out, and South Arkansas shares 1. And since the educational co-ops have come online, let's just say that the trunks have been somewhat crowded, and there's been a few times we've had problems connecting, but we've always found a way to get out.
Is there currently a committee on distance education here at SAU?
Yes, we have 2 committees. We have the administrative committee, which is chaired by Ms. Ronnie Birdsong, and then we have the academic committee, which is chaired by Dr. Dan Ball, Vice President of Academic Affairs. And what we are doing is writing a policy and procedures handbook for our distance learning program. This involves everything from tuition to articulation agreements with other schools to standards. And SAU, I'm proud to say, is one of the schools in Arkansas who has placed a criteria on the level of quality that we're looking for in our program. If we can't do quality, we're not going to do it.
Well, how does SAU's distance learning program compare to other universities and colleges in Arkansas?
Right now, we're still in our infancy. We have really just now getting started. The difference being, and I don't mean to slam other schools in Arkansas, but when we started this program 9 years ago, Arkansas, we got into distance ed with the right intent, but the network grew a lot faster than what we anticipated that it would. And there's a lot of mistakes that have been made. But SAU can benefit from that because we see those mistakes and we're being very careful not to make those. So we're being cautious. That's how we're different.
Right.
How does Arkansas's technology compare to other states with its distance learning technology?
Actually, we are a lot further along than people give us credit for being. We have, out of the states, Kansas, Georgia, Mississippi, and Florida actually have excellent distance learning programs, and Arkansas is probably one of the top 10.
Well, that's good. Let's see, what do you see as the future of distance education, let's say the next 10 years nationwide?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I think it's an open market.
Are there any innovations or anything that you think is going to just come out that we're not aware of in distance education, any type of new development or something that's being, maybe in its infancy now?
Well, here at SAU, once again, the Cisco training program,
right.
And you're going to see a lot of that happen where companies such as Microsoft and Cisco and different telecommunications companies will indeed partner with schools and doing training programs, and I think that's exciting. In fact, I don't know if you remember, but a few months back, a company in California had 34 job openings for technologies, and they couldn't find qualified individuals, and so they hired 34 people from France. Now, that's wonderful. We're getting people from other countries and bringing in the different culture.
Right.
But that's 34 jobs that Americans could have done if we had been trained. And so by partnering with companies like Cisco, we're going to be able to train high school students who will get into the workforce and will be able to fill these jobs.
Do you think that I guess distance education would be an open field or be something that students should think about getting into?
As a major?
Yes.
Yes. There's a lot of schools throughout the country that are offering degrees now in distance learning, or even by some form of distance learning. It may be a degree in psychology, or actually a degree in distance learning. In fact, Texas A&M offers a program, a doctorate in distance learning. Nova Southeastern out of Fort Lauderdale offers a doctoral program in distance learning. But let me say one thing while we're on the subject about taking courses by distance learning methods. Before someone enrolls in a course, they need to check and see that that program is indeed accredited.
Is accreditation a big concern?
Yes, it's a big concern. You asked me earlier about the problems, and other than finances, accreditation is a big problem. There are a lot of diploma mills out there lurking on the internet.
Does SAU's future look promising as far as the distance technology and just technology in general?
Yes, because I think we have a very, very positive attitude about it. We see the importance of it and the role that it's going to play within society and within our community and here at SAU. So I feel very, very good about it.
You were recently sent on a training seminar. Was it a training seminar?
Yes.
Well, apparently they're looking, at the future is promising by doing that, by sending you there to learn,
Right.
More about distance education and I guess further your knowledge. What are some of the things that you did at this seminar that would benefit, or that you come back with more knowledge of?
Well, it was a week-long training at Texas A&M for the Center for Distance Learning Research, and it was a combination of everything from how to manage a program to looking at different teaching and learning styles and how to integrate those with technology. And that seems to be one of the weakest areas within the nation, is how to take different learning styles and merge that with the technology.
Did you have, hands-on training there,
Yes.
or did you get grouped up? Or
Yes, we did.
Is money a problem when people think about distance education? Do they think that the biggest problem is going to be money?
As a student, it could be, because of the fact that it is still fairly new in the country. And at some points, I'll be honest, it is best just to, if you can drive to a university, get your degree on campus. But if you're at a point where you can't, it's one of those things where you have to just weigh the options that you have. But getting a degree online can be expensive.
We're in the Arklatex here. When I think of Arkansas, I'm from Louisiana. I think of the 3 states, combined. Could you tell us a little about? Do you know anything about Texas and maybe Louisiana's distance education? Are they right up there with Arkansas? Are they leading the pack?
In fact, Texas is way out there in front. I would put Texas probably in the top 5 in the nation. In Texas, what they did was the legislatures allotted money to help 2-year schools and 4-year schools to subsidize their programs. And that's one of the problems we have here in Arkansas, is there are no subsidies other than grant funding and that is self-supported programs by generating, with tuition, community service type programs, things of this nature. But that is an area that's rapidly changing. In fact, I understand within the last general session there were several bills that were out there to help support distance ed in Arkansas.
Okay. What type of technology is Texas using as compared to just let's look at SAU's compressed video? What other things would they be using besides compressed video? Maybe universities in Texas.
They're using a lot of satellite, a lot of uplink and downlink systems. Uplink where they produce their own and they will beam it to another side of the state. They're using internet courses. A lot of telecourses are being used. Telecourses are probably one of the cheapest forms of distance ed to produce. Basically, like we're sitting here in a TV studio right now, this could be an actual course that we could put together, make copies of tapes, and just send them out via postal service to whoever wants to enroll in the course.
Dana, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching this edition of the SAU Report. I'm Jennifer Lewis.
And I'm Tracy Campbell. Thanks for watching.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.